going to start on our backs with the block right under the base of the skull. So whatever setting you'd like to have it as high as you want. And we're just going to start with a little check-in, a little bit of neck mobility. So I want you to bring your chin down any amount into a little bit of flexion and then start to rotate side to side. So we're trying to get some length at the back of the neck, those sub-occipital muscles, as we add a little bit of rotation. We don't want to force it as we go side to side. We just want to assess the differences between right and left. Let's find that centered position. Option to keep the block here behind the head as we come up into bridge pose. So knees are bent, really long through the spine, long through the low back as we push into the feet, lift up into low bridge. We're going to stay low enough that our shoulder blades and most of our back ribs are still going to be grounded, feeling those two pelvic points draw in. Now let's reach both arms up with the palms facing in toward each other. And we'll work a little bit of shoulder flexion, keeping the head still. Let's reach the right arm as far back as it can go without the ribs changing. And then lift it up. Reach the left arm back into shoulder flexion without changing the rib cage. And just keep alternating a few more times, right and left. Keeping the head and neck still, the ribs still, as we just start to mobilize the shoulders. Now we'll stay with both arms up. Let's stretch out that right wrist into some extension, maybe wiggling that right thumb a little bit. Hold strong in the glutes. Switch hands, stretching out that left wrist. Back of the neck is long. Let's wiggle that left thumb a little bit. And bring your hands down. Take another inhale well, where we really focus on the rib cage expanding outwards. And as you exhale, let's slowly tiptoe down the mid-back, lower back, all the way until you land that sacrum down. The block's going to stay behind the head or put it back behind the head if you moved it for our core work. So we're going to have hands on the block behind the head, elbows in just like we normally would without the block. Now we want to take a big breath in, expanding the ribs sideways and backwards. As you exhale, I want you to lean your head back into the block so the head is nice and heavy. And we're going to lift up the shoulder blades like we're trying to gaze toward our belly button. If you can't see it, no worries, just gaze where it would be. Inhale to lower the head and the block down. When you're ready, exhale, lean your head back into the block. From there, we try to lift off the shoulder blades, keeping the gaze toward our belly button. So try not to use those neck muscles to lift. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lean your head back into the block. Lift off the shoulder blades like you're gazing towards your belly button. Now keep the gaze at your belly button. Turn just the ribs an inch to the right, but don't let the head turn you. Just let the ribs turn you. Bring it back to center. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lean your head back into the block. Lift up. Gazing toward the belly button. Head feels heavy. We turn 1 inch to the left, keeping the gaze right at the center, trying to stay off the left shoulder blade. Bring it back to center. Inhale and lower. One more round. Exhale, lean your head back into the block as you lift up. Pelvic points draw in. Keep your gaze at the belly button. We're going to turn 1 inch to the right. Staying off that right shoulder blade, can you also extend that right leg? Keeping the sacrum steady. Foot comes down, back to center. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lean your head back into the block as you lift up. Gaze right toward the belly button. Turn 1 inch to the left, staying off that left shoulder blade. Maybe we try to extend that left leg. Left foot comes down and back to center. Inhale and lower down. Okay, let's move the block aside. We'll hug the knees in. Take a little rock side to side or up and down. Coming into a seated position. We won't be here for too long, but let's just start to mobilize the neck and upper back a little bit. So we're just going to interlace our fingers right at the sacrum, the back of the pelvis. Slide your hands or your knuckles over toward the left side of the pelvis or left side of the lower back. Drop the right ear to the shoulder. Let's take a big breath like we could breathe directly into that neck stretch. Good, bring it back up and then let's switch. Bring the hands over to the right side of the sacrum, left ear to the shoulder. Breathe into that neck stretch. All right, let's come up and we'll make our way to quadruped, hands and knees. You're welcome to be on fist or on your palms. Make sure that your shoulders are right over the wrist, knees in tight so that we don't automatically drop down and arch the back. So we want to hold that neutral and let's continue to mobilize the neck. We're going to do some flexion and extension and rotation. So starting with extension, that's lifting the chin. Lower the chin, that's flexion. Find neutral where the back of the neck is long. We turn the head left, center, right, center. Now again, we extend, chin up, flex, chin down. Find neutral, neck is long, rotate left, center, right, center. One more time, extension, lift the chin, flexion, chin down, neutral, sides of the neck are long, rotate left, center, and right. Back to center and we'll cat-cow. You can involve the cervical spine, the head and neck as much as it feels good for you today. But let's really focus on getting as much movement as we can from the pelvis all the way up, the mid-back and upper back. Pause in your cat pose, so that spinal flexion, nice rounded back, so the head's gonna hang and feel a little heavy. From here, we'll tuck the toes, hike the pelvis straight up, so we're trying to get belly toward the thighs in this really short down dog. And we're gonna let the head hang here. So you can let the head feel heavy, you can nod yes and no, you could do little figure eights, anything that feels good for your neck. Really pressing into the fingers, not just the wrists. Okay, keeping the hips nice and high, let's walk the hands back toward the feet, belly toward the thighs into that deep triple flexion, and let the head hang here. Same thing, you can nod yes and no, side to side, little swivels. And today we're gonna let the head be heavy. Big bend in the knees as we roll up the spine. Once we come to a standing position at the back of the mat, we're going to do some lateral flexion, which is side bending. So we're just going to stagger walk forward, pretty simple. Right foot staggers forward. Let's make sure we don't tip the pelvis, so zip her up. Starting with the ear, so hands are just going to be on our sides. Right ear toward the right shoulder, that's lateral flexion. And then we'll keep going. Slide that right hand down as far as it feels comfortable into a side body stretch for this left side, and then come up. Left foot stagger walks forward, knees can stay soft. Left ear to the shoulder, that's lateral flexion for the neck. And then we keep going, slide the hand down as far as it feels good. And just walk your way forward like that. So the side bend, we're gonna start from the neck, the cervical spine. And then the rest of the spine can go with it, any amount that feels good. Notice if one side feels a little tighter than the other. And whenever you get to the front of the mat, we'll pause there, knees nice and soft. Let's check in with our plumb line. So bring your fingers to your ears, and we're gonna draw the elbows back as far as we can without arching the back. So keep those ribs stacked, and then we'll slowly lower the arms down. So chest is a little bit more open, ears are over the shoulders. From there, we reach the arms forward and up. Get your armpits as high up toward the ears as you can, and we'll hinge forward, keeping the neck in alignment for quadruped. Shoulders over your wrists. We're gonna do that cervical flexion and extension. So chin down, cervical flexion. Chin up, cervical extension. Couple more, chin down. Chin up. Chin down. Chin up, and then we'll find neutral. Back of the neck is really long, sides of the neck are long, tuck the toes, and let's hover. Feel the whole front body lift up toward imaginary broom behind you. And then tap the knees down. We're gonna step our right foot forward into a low lunge, 90-90. Rise up and let's pay special attention to the neck. We want ears right over the shoulders. We're gonna bring our right arm up and over for a little neck stretch. So we side bend right ear to the shoulder, that's that lateral flexion. And then we're gonna add on by also adding a little rotation down where you try to bring the chin down. And then take that rotation out, head floats back to neutral. So we do that again, right ear to the shoulder, lateral flexion, and we add a little rotation. Chin lowers down any amount. Take the rotation out, lift back up. One more time, ear to the shoulder. Drop the chin down or rotate down. Take the rotation out, and then float it back up. Okay, take that right arm down. Now our left hand is going to come downward to a block for a modified twisted crescent. Any height, shoulder over the wrist, right hand to the sacrum. Now do your best to not lead with the head, lead with the ribs as we rotate to the right. Let the left ear release to the left shoulder. You can stay here or bring that right arm up, even up and over, but focus on the neck. Let it release as much as it feels good as you really pull that right hip back. Backstroke the right arm, quadruped. Gonna do some belly rolls to just free up the mid and upper back. A couple times both ways. When you're ready, we step the left foot forward into that 90-90 low lunge. Check in, ears over the shoulders, shoulders over the ribs, ribs over the pelvis. Right glutes nice and active. We take that left arm up and over. Left ear to the shoulder. Lateral flexion, a side bend, and then we try to rotate the chin down any amount. Take the rotation out, float the head back up. Ear to shoulder. Rotate the chin down any amount. Take the rotation out, float it back up. One more time. Lateral flexion, we side bend the neck. Add some rotation, chin down. Take the rotation out. Float the head back up. Good, release that arm. Now our right hand comes to the ground or to a block. Any height, shoulder over the wrist, left hand at the sacrum. We're turning from the ribs, not leading with the head. And from here, we let right ear start to drip down. Little side bend for the neck. You can have left arm come up. Left arm can come up and over. I want you to feel this left hip really trying to pull back. Imagine that you could breathe into the stretch for the left side. Good, backstroke the left arm, quadruped. You could take a child's pose, a cat-cow. Of course, you can come to a down dog. Option today is to do some shoulder shrugs in down dog. Like you're pushing the ground away, feeling the shoulder blades glide up toward the ears and then down the back. Nice mobility for the upper back. Let's walk it forward. Bent knee forward fold. Try to keep your belly towards your thighs by really bending the knees. Press the ground away, rise up. Get those armpits way up. We hinge forward, keeping the neck in alignment. Quadruped, hands or fists. Cervical flexion and extension. Chin down, chin up. And as you keep doing this, try to hold the shoulders the same, the ribs the same, and the pelvis. So it's not the same as cat-cow. We're just trying to isolate the neck. Find neutral where the back of the neck feels really long. Tuck the toes, hover the knees, and feel the whole front body, including the throat. Try to lift up a little bit. Good. Tap the knees down. Right foot steps forward, 90-90. This time we have the option to tuck those left toes under. Nice and firm in that left glute. We're going to do left arm out to the side, palm facing up, and then pull the fingers down into extension. This might feel like plenty, or bring your right ear to your shoulder here. This is a neck stretch, a nerve stretch. So just take some big, slow breaths here, not letting the neck or the jaw tense. Float the head back up, Release the arms, and we're just gonna roll one shoulder back at a time. Little freedom for the neck, shoulders, and upper back. As we stretch that left hip flexor. We're heading into modified side plank. Left hand is welcome to come to a block or to the ground. Slide that left knee in. Right foot steps back. Now really pay attention to left shoulder, left collarbone, and left scapula. Get everything as neutral as you can. We're gonna let the right ear drip down to the shoulder, side bending the neck, and then float it up in alignment. So it's a little mobility, it's a little strength. Ear to shoulder, and then float it back up. Ear to shoulder, float it back up. Couple more. Now hold the neck in neutral. Can we try rotating? So we turn the nose down to the ground and up to the ceiling, any amount without forcing that rotation. So now we're just doing a couple rounds of cervical rotation, holding that left shoulder and left hip so strong and still. Bring the head back to neutral, quadruped. Okay, we're gonna swivel. Our knees are gonna turn to the left, feet to the right. Round your back and maybe even pop up onto the fingertips. Let the neck release. Good. Switch, knees to the right, feet to the left. Round your back, maybe come onto the fingertips. Let the neck release. Good. Back to center, quadruped. Left foot steps forward. Tuck the right toes under. We're in that really active 90-90, stretching the right hip flexor, right glute firm. Right arm out to the side, palm up, and we pull the finger down into that wrist extension. Stay here or bring left ear to the shoulder. Breathe into that neck stretch. Think about the inhales, widening the torso and the rib cage. Float the head back up, release the hands, and let's roll one shoulder back at a time. Stay really active in that right glute, almost like it's trying to push forward toward the front of the mat. Right hand comes down or to a block, modified side plank. Right knee slides in, left foot steps back. Now we want to check that the right collarbone is broad. That right scapula is trying to click onto the back of the ribs. From there, we side bend the neck, right ear to shoulder, and then float it back up in alignment. Little strength and stretch. We'll do a few rounds of lateral flexion. What we're doing right now is side bend in the neck before we move to rotation. Bring the neck to neutral, and then any amount. Lower the nose down, and then lift the nose up any amount toward the ceiling. This might be really small, so we don't want to force it. Stay within your comfortable range. Back to neutral, and we'll lower to quadruped. Of course, you have the option for a child's pose, some kind of cat-cow, or a down dog. If you're in down dog and you want to add shoulder shrugs or even swivels side to side, do whatever feels good for your body. Getting a little release for the neck. Let's walk it forward, bent knee forward fold. Press the ground away and we'll rise up. Moving on to our standing sequence, right foot steps back, high lunge. Shorten the stance as much as you need so that pelvic bowl doesn't tip forward. We feel really long and supported in the low back. We're gonna bring hands behind the head. And if you can get your thumbs kind of right behind the ears or the base of the skull, we'll do a little massage here. So you can be totally still in your lunge and just massage those suboccipital muscles, the base of the skull, or if you want to challenge your balance while you do this, lift the heart, little thoracic extension as you massage. Come to neutral, elbows in, thoracic flexion while you massage those suboccipitals. So your choice, this is definitely going to challenge the balance. It's going to challenge that right glute to hold still. So be wherever you need to be. Nourishing your neck in whatever way feels good today. Let's come to neutral. Lower the hands down. And we're going to do a little pulse here. Just a little bend and straighten. And as we bend and straighten, we're just going to turn the head right and left. Can you turn the head without the shoulders and the chest turning? Also going to challenge your balance a little bit. Good, let's turn to the right, opening for a goddess squat. So we externally rotate. Zipper the pubic bone up so we feel long and supported, not shortened in the low back. Arms will come out. We're going to side bend to the right. Left arm comes up and over. Let the neck side bend as well. And then take that left arm behind the back wherever it lands. Pull the shoulder down away from the ear. Little upper trap stretch. Float the head back up. Arms come out. We side bend to the left. Right arm up and over. Zipper the pubic bone up. Right arm comes down and behind the back wherever it lands. We pull the shoulder down away from the ear. Float it up again. Side bend. Left arm up and over. Bring it down and behind the back. Pull the shoulder down away from the ear. Trap stretch. Float it back up. Last time. Right arm up and over. Side bend. Right arm comes down and behind the back. Shoulder pulls down away from the ear. Good, float it up. Let's turn to the back of the mat. You can be in a single leg balance, just a hip flexion. You can open it out into a tree pose, wherever you'd like to be. We're gonna do our best to turn from the ribs, not the head. So we're actually gonna stack our hands right here at our forehead and turn just from the ribs, an inch to the right. It's gonna be so small, not leading with the neck, and then bring it back. Hold the neck still, turn just the ribs. Couple more times. This really challenges that right hip and right glute. Single leg stability, single leg balance, working that thoracic rotation, and also trying to train ourselves to not turn so much with the neck or eyes, but to turn through the thoracic spine, the rib cage. Okay, we step that right foot back again, turn back to the side of the mat where we came from. We're gonna side lunge. Think about that broom behind your back. Ears stack over the shoulders as we side lunge. Stay as long as you can through the back of the neck, almost like you're trying to lift the throat up a touch. Sit back into the hips and the glutes. Support your neutral spine with the core. Good, turn back to the front of the mat. And we'll do that standing sequence on the other side. So our left foot steps back, high lunge, zipper up. Shorten the stance as much as you need. Hands behind the head, we're gonna do that suboccipital massage. That's just the muscles underneath the base of the skull. Whatever you wanna do here, be still or lift the heart. Round forward without anything in the pelvis or lower body being affected by what the upper back is doing. So we're isolating the thoracic spine if we're moving. We're all massaging the base of the skull muscles. Keep zippering that pubic bone up. You might even still feel a left hip flexor stretch while we're here. Good. Come back up. We're going to add that little bend and straighten, just a tiny bounce as we turn the head side to side. You could do this any pace, but try not to turn through the shoulders, just the neck, and one side might rotate farther than the other. Challenging the balance, the strength of that left glute. Good, back to center. Let's turn to the left side, turning the toes out for that goddess squat, pelvic points draw in. So you side bend to the left, right arm up and over. Right arm comes down and behind the back, wherever it lands, pull the shoulder down away from the ear. Float it back up. Other side, left arm up and over. Let the neck release and side bend. Arm comes around the back, pull the shoulder down away from the ear. Float it up one more time. Side bend, right arm up and over. Pull the leg so strong. Right arm comes down and behind the back. Pull the shoulder down, trap stretch. Float it back up. Last one. Left arm up and over. Bring it down and behind the back. Pull the shoulder down. Ear to shoulder. Good. Float it up. Let's turn to the back of the mat. Single leg balance. You could be hip flexion. You could be tree pose. Wherever you want to be, stack the backs of the hands at the forehead. We're going to turn just the ribs to the right. And then unwind. So we really have to stabilize and work that left hip. You could even try to close your eyes. That's going to make balance so much harder. But we're trying to get used to not leading with the eyes or turning from the neck when we should be turning from the ribs. So do your best to keep the ears stacked over the shoulders. Might be such a small rotation. One more. Good. Step that right foot back, turn to the side of the mat. We still want to keep ears over the shoulders, neck in alignment as we side lunge. But if you would like to add a rotation of the neck side to side, go for it this round. Active through the legs and the feet. Picturing that invisible broom taped behind your back, holding our neutral spine as we mobilize the hips and the neck. Good. Turn to the front of the mat. Quadruped. Let's cat power belly roll for a few breaths, involving the cervical spine, the neck, as much as it feels good. Now we're going to come to a child's pose with the forehead on the block. So whatever height or whatever setting you'd like, our forehead is just going to rest on the block. If it feels okay, arms can come to your side, and you can just let the shoulders totally round and droop down to the ground. Rock your head side to side. So a little massage for the forehead. Might feel surprisingly tense here. We like to furrow our brow and tense here. There's also an acupressure point right between the eyes, so great place to stimulate when you're feeling stressed. Big, slow breaths. When you're ready, we'll come out of that and come onto our backs for a figure four. If you would like to have the block under the head for a little bit more neck support, mobilization, go ahead. And we'll feel for that triple S. So either back of the skull on the ground or the block, shoulder blades on the ground, and the sacrum. We're going to pick up the right foot, cross it over for figure four without swiveling the lower body or the pelvis at all. Arms can come out like a low V, a T with the palms up, a goalpost, anything that feels good to open the tissue at the front of the chest. Maybe we pick up that left foot for a bigger stretch if that's what you need. And then we have the option to just mobilize the neck in any way you want. It might be side to side, chin up and down, ear to shoulder, whatever extra movement for your neck that might feel good as we stretch this right hip. Release it down, recheck that neutral spine, and then we'll pick up the left foot, cross it over figure four without the lower body or the pelvis swiveling. Adjust as needed to find your amount of stretch and mobilize. Whatever feels good. Rock the head side to side. Lift the chin up and down. Bring ear to shoulder. So any of these ranges of motion, whatever feels tight or just wants to move, move in any way that feels nice. Just remember to not hold the breath or to tense anywhere while you're stretching. We want the nervous system to be soothed and relaxed. Big, deep breaths into the rib cage. Good, we'll release it down. You're welcome to keep the head on the block as we roll to our right side for a twist. Keep that triple S, so we don't want to be arching the low back here. It should feel really long. Left arm is going to open up and back. It could be straight, it could be bent in a goalpost. We're just going to come in and out of the twist as many times as it feels good. Turning through the ribs, but if it feels good to move the head and neck with it, go ahead. Let's hold our twist with that left arm open or out. If you want, let the head turn side to side. Adding a little bit more movement for the neck if you'd like. And we'll unwind, roll onto our left side. Set up with that neutral spine. Our right arm is going to be the mover this time. Elbow can be bent or straight. Really working on that rotation through the rib cage, the thoracic spine. Let's hold in our rotation. Maybe turning the head side to side if that feels good. Make your way onto your back. You can stick with the block under the base of the skull, or if you'd like to mobilize the mid back a little bit, feel free to put the block under the shoulder blades. You can have hands behind the head for support. And as we finish up, taking some deep breaths together, you can stay on the block and keep moving and mobilizing. You can lie totally flat in Shavasana, whatever is going to best serve you today. Relaxing any tension in the face, specifically the jaw and the forehead. As we come back to that really mindful 360 breath, let's just check in with how we feel in our mind, our body, and our energy. And whenever you're ready to finish up your practice, I invite you to send one grateful thought out into the universe.